Part two of critical race theory. Right, we leaving off with the Moors. Now, give you an example. Right, read this for you. Question: did the Moors teach Europe? When the Moors took over Spain, they taught them to bathe. Let me read that again. When the Moors took over Spain, they taught them, i.e. Europeans, to bathe, how to preserve spices up to 100 years, and many other things that made their way of life more civilized. They brought many forms of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering to Europe. The word algebra can be traced back to the Moors. Now let's go back. The Moors taught the European whites how to clean themselves because, hell, even the queen wasn't taking baths but once a year. How to preserve their spices up to 100 years, and many other things that made their way of life more civilized. Right. See, everything that we do as black men, right, of knowledge, our goal is to teach black men who haven't had the privy to receive knowledge, is to give them knowledge. Why? Why? Because that's the law of civilization. You look over at your fellow man and woman and you want them as civilized as you, because one, that creates a better community. So in the movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy, right, we traded places with the Europeans when they were in the caves. The Moors taught the Europeans knowledge and raised them out of the caves and hillsides of Europe, right? Even showed them how to walk upright. But then the Europeans, under that knowledge called tricknology, knowledge of tricks and lies, they said amongst themselves, if we capture all the knowledgeable ones from coast to coast and not allow them to learn to read and write, right, dumbfound them, then we could rule over them, we can trade places, and we can appear as gods to the gods. Clever plan. No, they did that. They did that because trading places, right? We became the Europeans in the caves, and they became the Moors, the civilized ones, right? They turned our communities into how their communities used to be. And then in turn, they took on our communities the way we used to live. Trading places. We upside. What was once up is now down, and what was once down is now up. Right? Okay, that's water under the bridge. I can't say let bygones be bygones, because there got to be some type of reparations or something. Because that was the dirtiest trick ever pulled since the existence of man. Right. So now we're back. Cream rises to the top. Who is the original man, right? So the cream is rising back to the top, right? But the cream, as it gets to the top, has a little weight on it, right? Man, it's a little weight. It's heavy. No, it's some weight. It ain't a little weight. It has weight on it, right? Because the weight is that the cream got to pull up everyone that's part of the cream, meaning the black family. So the cream has to go back and civilize, because what the black Moors did for the white Europeans, the white Europeans is not going to do the same in return to the black Moors. Meaning, white people are not going to civilize the black man and woman because it's not in them. It's up to the black man and woman to civilize the black man and woman. Now, who would be the best one to civilize the black man and woman? Well, the one who they said God came in person with a knowledge. Nobody else said that. So you would have to take that knowledge of the one who they said came in person and see if that knowledge lifts you up to be civilized. But first thing, though, is that you have to recognize that you're uncivilized. Then you have to want to be civilized, right? But then it has to start with an example of a civilized person. Now, the colonizer and his tricknologies and tricks and lies, he's brilliant scientist, right? What he does is he says, okay, he'll talk to us and he'll say, okay, scientists, we know that you're here and we know that the knowledge you have can civilize your people. But if your people all become civilized, then where would that leave them? Right. Well, when their whole mission is the suppression of the black man and woman in America. You can't get the colonizer to change his mind of who he is. He knows who he is. His job is to keep you from knowing who you are so he can rule a little bit longer. He's so caught up in his mission. The weather is whooping him, heat waves, his infrastructures and buildings and constructions is falling apart, but he still got his eye locked on the black man and woman. He around here talking about voters' rights and getting in Texas, getting ready, everybody can pack a gun, and he's even against critical race theory. He's talking about wokeism. Now remember, this show, what I'm doing right now, is part two to part one of the critical race theory. But his job is he's locked in on our behind, and he's not finna let go. Right? He's saying, you want me to voluntarily let you go? He's saying that'll be a detriment to me. If you want me off your behind, then get me off your behind. But singing is not going to do it. He's telling you. Marching, which I heard they planning another march on voters' rights. He's saying marching, not going to get it. Right. Pleading, nah, that ain't going to get it. Shaking the job and doing a hand bone tap dance, that's not the lock to get him from being locked on your behind. That ain't happening, So when one comes and tell you the way, he makes that one seem so foreign and his ideal so foreign, it seems so far-fetched to you, to where you can say that can't possibly work. But you're seeing a whole group of people who used it. They're free, enjoying life, but they seem opposite of you. Because you can't be the same old nigga or Negro or what and be free. So of course you gotta change who you were today. Has to look totally opposite of who you are tomorrow. You can't look like the same Negro and say you free. You get it? He knows this. So his job is to make you feel comfortable with being a Negro. And not that way you won't even seek your true freedom, because if you sought your true freedom, two things can occupy the same space at the same time. He would have to go. And he don't want to go yet. That's the game. That's the game. But okay. We still we working with it, right? We working with it. Now, one thing we gotta address, and y'all forgive me because I'm I'm not beating up on religion or whatever you call yourself. I don't care. Christian, Muslim, Jew, Buddhist, whatever. Those titles, okay, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But one thing, and I could be wrong, right? But we have to look. One thing we have to. The scholars that listens to this show, right? None but scholars listens to this show, and sometimes we feedback with each other, and sometimes I see that things are changing because the scholars that listens to this show, they busy about the work. They not busy trying to get some kind of shine and some kind of, hey, everybody look at me, and hey, look what I'm doing, and I'm out front of the community, and look what I'm doing for the peoples. They ain't even worried about all that. They doing it quietly, but they doing it, but quietly though. They're not making no known names for themselves, right? Now, one problem, and this is a difficult subject, but we got to deal with it because, see, the 2021 church is not the 1800 church. Back in the 1800s, it's two different churches, right? Because the church was a safe haven for black people. When black people would run, get away, or need some to be consoled, they go to the church. But what the devil did with his tricks and lies, he made the church become the hub to propagate all illegal, nefarious, lying activity to spill over into the streets. Example, when the pastor started committing fornication and adultery, sleeping with the women in the church, he put a stamp of approval on it, and it spilled out into the streets because nobody would check pastor, right? Came right up out the church into the streets because it's the hub. See, the devil know what he's doing. As long as he put that white Jesus up and he taught you a certain foundation of teachings, he know that that's a gateway for him to come in and then put his evil suggestions into the mind of the people inside the place, knowing that it's going to spill out into the streets and corrupt the community, right? He knows this, right? Another example. Found out that the pastors was on crack, getting high. Hell, even buying it in the church, right? Congregation where hell, pastors using crack, getting high, spilled out into the streets. Now they doing it in community corrupt, right? Same game, Seem like every ill doings can be found done inside the church. Look, they wanted to create an agenda of homosexuality. I remember when they started accepting the behavior in the church and not trying to change behavior, saying that by the Christian laws, where God called it an abomination. I'm speaking strictly on religious ideologies. I'm not talking about outside of religion. In the context of religion, homosexuality along with other sins are frowned upon and called abomination, right? So in the church, if it can be allowed in the church, then it will be okay in the streets. Meaning, if the act is tolerated in the church, then it's acceptable in the streets. And so when people say, well, we got to clean up the streets. No, not necessarily. You got to clean up the church first, right? Then the streets will clean itself up. That's the key. You got to clean up the church first, and the streets will clean itself up. You got to check these hustling pastors if you want the streets to be cleaned up. If you don't want the streets to be cleaned up, then you won't check the church, and you so caught up in I don't want to upset pastor or whatever, but the whole community falling apart. Hey, that's the game, okay? But I'm just saying, we just putting it on the table, and do with it what you will. We have to, if we want to survive. And we have in Texas, we got, what is this? Is June? We got the few days left in June, all of July, all of August, because when September 1st gets here and everybody's able to pack a gun, as long as you're not a felon, concealed or whatever, you don't have to have a gun license, right? We got 2 months to educate, right? Meaning, think, be analytical. Don't let your emotions guide you, right? Because one, a lot of black people haven't been taught how to properly defend themselves, and you can't properly defend yourself if you think Jesus is white, because you're going to be hesitant to strike a blow to anybody that's white, because you see your Savior is white. That was another part of tricks and lies to get you under mind control. And it worked, right? See, the colonizer hated black folks since his conception. So he's not going to hesitate to squeeze that trigger. He's not going to hesitate to throw a blow. He's not going to hesitate to put his knee in your neck. At the drop of a dime, he own you. We got to think about ramifications and repercussions if we do, right? But if you understood that this is your land and you being attacked and assaulted on your own land, you got a right to defend your land. You just don't know who the hell you are. So when people come give you knowledge of who you are, and the white man tells that black preacher, he give him a list of names. Anytime anybody in your congregation mention Farrakhan, Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm Masfarad Muhammad, Noah Ali, Marcus Garvey, names like that, you jump dead on them and tell them don't you go near them people. You make them, you vilify them. Because those people are a roadmap to his salvation. He can't know that. But hey man, I'm telling you, we got to get it together. And there's not a lot of time. But as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we can be woke up overnight. It can be done overnight. It has to be no long, drawn-out process. Man, why do they love the devil? Because the devil gives them nothing. Gives them nothing. You ain't hearing me though, but that's part of the game too. Okay, I understand. You know what I'm saying? Because survival, I understand. You got to survive for a time, right? Because all lies and all fake foundations are crumbling now. That's the sign. That's the sign, right? Remember, all lies and everything that was built on a fake foundation, the season is crumbling season. Verbal Prick Radio, we're out.